Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Diane Hayden, I'm publisher of Natural Nutmeg Magazine, and I'm here with Marianne Costerella for our second call. And we got such an awesome response last Saturday that we talked and thought that we would start doing these regularly, weekly, Thursdays at noon. And we're going to cover a different topic related to Marianne's wealth of knowledge on astrology, numerology, personology, the destiny cards, all of which is, I love this because it's all fascinating to me. And it was interesting because when we were chatting, I had come across a couple of different articles on, I think one was on Cafe Astrology website, but it was talking about the fact that Saturn was moving from Capricorn into Aquarius now. And I just wanted to read a little bit about what I read, because it was so fascinating to me and so fitting as far as what's happening right now. And then I read it to Marianne, and then we talked about this, and we were like, okay, this is perfect. This is what we'll talk about for our first call today. Mm-hmm. And then every call we do, we're gonna pick a random person to do a mini little destiny card reading on, and about how what's going on in their life right now and how they can really thrive in the situation that we're dealing with. So just real quickly, I was just going to read a little bit from this article that I read that I thought was really fascinating. Saturn moving into Aquarius on March 21st, the first time it's been in the sign of the water bearer in 26 years. And Saturn rules limitations, constrictions, and structure. It's the zodiac's taskmaster and brings about different challenges and encourages you to push through obstacles so you can undergo meaningful growth. Accountability and tough love are the name of Saturn's game, and the hard lessons it encourages you to learn correlate to the themes of whatever sign it's traveling through. So Saturn entering Aquarius is kind of a big deal. Basically, it's been in Capricorn for a couple of years, and Capricorn represents governments and corporations, status quo, capitalism. I mean, that doesn't come as any shock to me compared to what we've been seeing over the last couple of years. And Saturn's journey through Capricorn highlights issues related to world leaders, problems in the global economy, societal inequalities. And now Saturn in Aquarius is determined to shake shit up, rewrite the rules, and change the world for the better. Aquarius is the zodiac's revolutionary, known for its friendly, social, humanitarian traits. So the vibe is going from let's focus on these problems to let's talk about these problems, brainstorm ways to fix them, then go out and actually do something about them. As Saturn travels through Aquarius, you can expect world leaders to be held accountable for taking care of the common folk. New laws, treaties, and global changes are happening soon. Aquarius is also the sign of technology, and Saturn's trek through this air sign will crystallize advancements in the field, allowing for new advanced tech to be incorporated into day-to-day life. We're seeing that with people doing all, what we're doing right now, Zoom calls and taking their businesses online. In fact, the last time Saturn was in Aquarius, a little something called the internet became part of our day-to-day lives. AI, space travel, and advances in medical technology are thematic of Saturn and Aquarius too. Basically, inequalities and other worldwide issues have been brought to everyone's attention in the past couple of years, and now Saturn in Aquarius is our golden opportunity to make progressive, inclusive changes to the world around you. But Saturn isn't going to do all the work for you. That means this is a period of time when you can change the world through hard work. Saturn can help bring immense structure and value to your life, but if you're lazy and avoid obligations, it can cause difficulties and block your progress. The next couple of years can bring remarkable changes to your life if you work for them. It definitely isn't going to happen just like that, but does anything worth having ever come easy? That is so true.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Anytime I've struggled with things, I went through a period of time struggling with, finishing my doctoral degree and my defense and all that. I actually had to go back and redo my defense. Some of you, if you've read articles that I've written about it and know that about me. And I had I guess I'll call it an opportunity, or a situation where I had a choice to make. I mean, I could have just said, forget it. I can't, I can't go back and do all this again. I have to redo my statistics and rewrite, half my dissertation and defend again. And there was a piece of me that was really frustrated and, like angry and sad and all of those feelings about having to go and do all this work again. But I finally came to the conclusion that I just asked myself one question: do you want PhD after your name or not? Like, do you, you've been through all this work up to this now. Are you really just going to throw this away because maybe you have 6 more months or even a year more of work? And that's what it came down to, was basically like, okay, get your shit together and
Right.
do it, because that's what you've worked so hard for the last, 4 years. That's what you wanted, so just remember that. And yeah, it's going to take more work, hard work, but in the end, oh my God. And you asked me now, of course. I mean, I would have been devastated if I made the decision not to complete it.
Right.
So
Right.
True.
Right. And
So
that's
true.
and exactly what you've explained in terms of your own personal example is where we are collectively right now. I mean, we can't go back. I mean, basically Capricorn has moved the lesson in and really broken down the structure, and Aquarius represents changing the status quo from the inside out. And so that essentially means that we now have a lot of work to do to figure out who we really are, and I think and what we really want here. If we're being given the opportunity to restructure, reorganize, revamp this culture that we live in, what is it that each one of us would like to do individually to contribute to that? Because this doesn't just happen. What has happened doesn't just happen without the participation of everyone that has, on some level, either nodded yes to it or apathetically resigned themselves to whatever was going on and didn't say no to it. Well, however it contributed energetically on the part of all of us, we're now in it, and we have the opportunity to do the work. I mean, and we may, like you may have felt like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is just too much work. I don't want to go back and do all this, all these statistics, all of this work to present my dissertation again. But the world is essentially, the universe is essentially saying, you can do this. I mean, when I think about the common phrases that we come up with, the most recent one, it used to be whatever, this apathetic whatever. And if we've all contributed energetically to the whatever, then we've come up with a whatever culture. Now the new phrase seems to be, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. So, I want to say that positively to all of us. We've got this, and we have this opportunity right now to be at the, really kind of the groundbreaking ceremony of this new culture. And Aquarius wants that from us. Capricorn said, I will get rid of the old. You need to clean out the dead material here. You need to clean out what's not working. And Aquarius says, okay, now Capricorn's done that heavy work on some level and in a lessony sort of a way. And now Aquarius is saying, now we've got to do the rebuilding. And that's the hard, that's the hard part, because it means each and every single one of us have to challenge ourselves again, just like you did academically, to say, okay, what is it that I want to do? What is it? I mean, I have a daughter who's in the fashion industry, and she's afraid of losing her job because obviously they've already made great cutbacks, and she's at the director level. And so she's worried about that. Well, maybe the universe wants her to do something else. I don't know. And I mean, that may be a scary, solution for her at this point in her life. But at the same time, maybe the universe is saying, we want more from you. You have more to contribute than just designing clothes. I don't know. But I think Aquarius wants us to dig deeper and to rebuild what has been. you know, you mentioned too, Saturn says basically no shortcuts. This is not going to be swift and simple. This is going to take a lot of work, a lot of passion, and a lot of meditating on the part of each one of us individually. What do I want? I mean, where am I going with this new order? So,
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, I think, of us being put in quarantine is that,
right,
you know, we didn't take the opportunity. Let's face it, like all of us throughout our lives have many opportunities to put ourselves in quote unquote quarantine. I mean, to me,
right,
that just means doing things like going on a silent retreat or even just meditating for,
yeah,
15 minutes or an hour a day, whatever you can do, just giving yourself that time to get away from all of technology, your phone, all of that, and just really listen to what your soul is trying to communicate with you. But we
yes,
get so wrapped up and some of it's our fault, our responsibility. Some of it is also things that are put upon us just by the jobs that we have or the family situations that we have, caring for young children or caring for older parents, like all of that. Some we
right,
can't control. But I feel like we just have not been taking that opportunity, more and more. I know myself, like, I used to go on a silent retreat. I used to meditate regularly. I used to take more like alone time. And as years have gone by, because of just, more distractions or more work obligations, like that seems to fall away more and more. So now we're
absolutely,
being forced to do it. And you
that's
and
right,
we're talking like briefly before we started the recording about how I forget how it came up, but I said like, are we gonna be let out in like everyone's thinking, okay, I can do this. People on the news are saying, oh, we want this to be done and let's just another week or maybe another 2 weeks or whatever. And you just said, but is that what we really want?
right,
I've been thinking about that. Sure, there's a part of me that wants to get back to, regular life. And there's a part of me that feels, awful for people who have lost their jobs and have had to
right,
shut down businesses. And how long can that really go on without people having, a real struggle? So I don't want that. But at the same time, I feel like we need a little bit more quarantine time to really
absolutely.
dig deeper.
That's right. Yep. We are in quote unquote, we are in meditation right now, whether the world likes it or not, whether we're comfortable with focusing on our breath and disallowing, scary, panicky thoughts and anxiety issues to well up inside of us is, I mean, what does every guru, every therapist tell someone who starts to get overwhelmed with their anxiety is to drop down into that place of breath, and to get out of the head, to get out of the mind, that it's a dangerous neighborhood for most of us. And so I agree. That is very much, I mean, I think that the needs of the group, which, I mean, Aquarius has always been about, is about the group. Aquarius is the water bearer. So carrying the buckets of water to humanity at this point, and defocusing a little bit from this selfieism that we've been involved in for such a long time. Now it's more about the collective group and how, what can we do to help the group? And we are, I mean, this meditation, this quarantine has caused us to become more group conscious. And I just find it an interesting parallel process, because that's what Aquarius is known for, is the group mentality and the collectivism that comes with that kind of thinking. And so now we're not so focused on self, and more focused on the group. I want to also mention that the planet Mars is moving into Aquarius next week, which is also going to really re-intensify all that Aquarian energy and that sense of think out of the box. A lot of us have not had to think out of the box. We've had jobs and bosses and colleagues and people telling us what box we belong in. And now we're hanging out there on some level without a net, without a box. and we get to create the box we want to be in for this time period. And the most, I want to say one of the most anxiety provoking thoughts is that we don't know when it's going to be over. Everybody wants it to get comfortable again. And you know, what does that mean? I mean, like you said, do we want it to be over before the work is done? Because if that happens, then, you know, how much change is really going to be in effect. So I think Mars moving into Aquarius also next week, because Mars is the planet of energy, of drive, of determination. So you've got the lesson planet, which is Saturn, and then you've got Mars, which is the masculine energy, the drive, the determination, the sexuality, the competitiveness. All of that is moving into Aquarius, saying, I want you guys to be thinking in terms of the group. What is the group mentality? How is this going to better, you know, better serve and heal the group energy as opposed to individuals? So that's another piece that I think is also interesting. And Venus has been in Taurus, and Taurus is house, home, and family. So the planet of relationship has been focused on being home and being focused on loved ones and family. And that also is going to end next week as we move into Gemini. And that will be another air planet, another planet of possibly more socialization. So that'll be interesting. Our president's sun sign is in Gemini. So I don't know how those two will relate. I'm not here to predict any of that, but you know, there will be a lot of air energy, which is will come out of the earth, which has been heavy, the Capricorn and the Taurus, and will move more into a lighter energy that may start to kind of break some of this up a little bit.
Yeah, so do you think, I'm just going to throw this idea out there as you were talking, do you think that means that maybe some businesses will be allowed to reopen, but they'll still be saying, you know, you need to keep practicing social distancing? I hate that word, actually. I like, someone said physical distancing, and I like that much better.
Much better, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, could that be what the influence of Gemini is, maybe?
I mean, that could be. I mean, Gemini, like as I said earlier, is a lighter energy. I mean, you know, it's kind of here, there. It flits from one place to another. It's restless. I think there will be more of a restlessness, but more of an optimism, maybe more of a comedic optimism. And I do see a lot of comedic kinds of posts on social media, which I think in many ways is indicative of the fact that we need to laugh. We need to look at this as, you know, as an experience. And, you know, I, for one, being a Capricorn, you know, I love to go into the depths of things, but I need to also be brought up and out of it by
me,
by the airiness. Yeah, by you.
Because I'm the Aquarian.
You're the Aquarian and the Gemini. So you have
Aquarian,
your emotional nature is in Gemini. And to keep laughing, to keep smiling, to keep looking at positivity and how change can be positive. And none of us like to go into the depths of the grief, which is on some level where we have been. And now, you know, I hope to answer your question that the Aquarius and the Gemini energies will start to lighten this up. Some businesses will perhaps maybe open. I can't speak to that. I know my daughter's daycare is considering doing that next week. And, you know, and then obviously that sets up all kinds of thoughts and patterns of fear again among the people who say, well, if that's going to happen, then those children are going to be exposed. And I mean,
and down the rabbit hole we go.
That's right. Exactly.
The other thing I was thinking is maybe it could just mean that it's more indicative of how we're going to be feeling. So we just might be feeling more restless because Gemini's moved in. Yeah.
Absolutely. We may be feeling more restless. Yes. And so maybe, you know, on some level we've been okay and obedient as Taurus can be and compliant with the dictate of quarantining, because it's very natural to our energy right now, because Taurus is about home and family and staying. I mean, I notice when the moon is in Taurus, people are not out and about as much. They're home with family. They're home. They're more interested in cooking a home cooked meal than they are in being out. So yes, I agree. Gemini is going to want its wings. It's going to want to, just, well, go here and go there. And I don't know how that will look, but yes.
Well, we'll maybe just have to get in our car and drive around.
There you go. There you go. Like I used to do when I was young. I mean, that's how my generation of parents probably dealt with either my restlessness or their own. It was like, come on, let's go for a ride. And we never had anywhere specific to go. I just remember being in the backseat of the car and they were driving and I was sitting, and, the movement of the car and looking at other people and all that, I guess quieted my restlessness and theirs at the time. But, our appetites for change were much simpler in those days, And unfortunately today, and I will go back to technology and everything. I mean, we have an ADD mentality about, I need to change it up very quickly. And we see that in our children. We see it in, everybody's a mirror of that for us. And it's, and I think all of that need for constant change also exacerbates everybody's anxiety levels, because it's like, oh, I'm bored, I got to do something else, I got to change it up, I got to meditate. I can't meditate. How can I meditate? That means I have to sit and be with myself for a while, and I'm too boring to do that with, or whatever it is that we tell ourselves about why we can't meditate and why we can't sit still. I mean, that's, I don't know, I guess on some level allowing the brain to dictate the rest of the organism, which, I've always had a problem with. I mean, we are chin down. That's the majority of where we live, really, or who we are. And yet we allow the brain to be in charge of telling us we can't meditate, we can't go for a walk, we can't spend time with our children without an iPad in front of them. We can't, that's, again, that's back to that whole addictive mindset. So I think, maybe with the nicer weather coming and the Gemini and the Aquarius's need for air, that, we'll be able to find comfort in space around us. We won't need, all of these things around us to make us feel secure and safe. So that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that hopefully this is giving a lot of people the opportunity to meditate or just be still or quiet, and realize that half of the commotion that's going on in your head all the time is not helping you. Like, it's just the same repetitive thoughts going around and around and around, and you almost, like you said, like you're letting that mind run the whole body. And from everything, I mean, we talked about this on Saturday. There's a lot of new people on the call today, so I don't mind, reviewing it, but we talked about the fact that technology is an addiction. And it's just like, again, it's just like, okay, drug addiction or gambling or food, all of that, I believe, comes from a place of not being present. You're not really stopping and asking questions. Why do I need to have this drink? Why do I need to eat this food? Why do I need to, go shopping? Why do I need to divert myself with email? Why do I need to be on Facebook? Like, it's just learning. I think the first step is self-aware. You have to be aware that you're actually letting your mind run your life, essentially. And then just listening to what it says to you, like, and asking that question. And to me, that's all about just stopping and breaking the habit and having presence. And half the time if you ask yourself that question, the answer is, I don't need it.
That's right.
Why am I going to the refrigerator? I don't need to do this. I'm not even hungry.
It's interesting. When I used to teach addiction courses way back in another lifetime, I remember saying often, that a craving, the physiological craving in the body for whatever the drug is, whatever it is, only lasts 7 seconds. Okay. However, in that time lapse of 7 seconds, most of us have, decided to consent to the crave. So it's like we don't work through the crave. We don't say, well, okay, what's on the other end of this? What else could I be doing? And what feeling is this crave replacing or avoiding, I should say, avoiding? What feeling am I avoiding in this moment by eating, drinking, smoking, whatever it is, getting on the computer? What is it that I was feeling before I got the craving? Because the actual craving itself lasts 7 seconds, but we consent so easily within that time period of 7 seconds with almost a whatever attitude, which is another indication of addiction. I mean, that apathy, which is now what this world is facing. We've been in a massive apathetic state about things. And if everybody keeps saying whatever, we've ended up with a whatever culture, and now we have to change that. Now the work is to change the whatever. Because I used to say to people also, whenever you say whatever, whether it's to the drink or whatever it is, you're saying whatever to yourself. I mean, you're saying whatever. I really don't care about how this is going to affect my brain or my body or my heart or my grief quantity inside me that needs to be processed. I don't really care about that. I just care about making it go away. And the reality is, as we're finding out, none of it went away. None of it went away. It all remained within each of our individual systems, and now we're dealing with it collectively. So, it's just an interesting when you say that. It's 7 seconds is all we have to work through. But
Wow.
it can be a long 7 seconds sometimes.
Right, exactly. I never knew that. That is interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
everybody can count to 10. So
That's right. That's
and
right.
yeah, I mean, every single time that I have done that and been present, and it also, I think it also works for not doing something. So we've been talking about like addiction in the form of, having another drink or eating more food or staying on your device or whatever. But also, there's the situations we have where we procrastinate. Well,
Right.
I don't feel like doing this. I'll do it tomorrow. I
Right.
don't want to exercise today. It's too cold, blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
that too, I think, if you just have that pause, or to me, what has worked better is I know I'm going to have that thought. I ignore it and I immediately go do what I have set out to do. Like
Right.
if I get that thought, I don't feel like exercising today. I know everybody who's on this call who knows me knows that never happens to me.
Right.
I see some people laughing and they're like, yeah, Di, I don't think you fit that, but I have to say, okay, so I am in Connecticut right now and I'm freezing. And yes, there have been times where I don't want to go outside. So I do,
Right.
on occasion, I get those thoughts. But it's like, okay, I had the thought. I recognize that I had the thought. Let it go. Too bad. Get your sneakers on. Go outside.
Yes.
And, maybe it's within the same 7 seconds of just.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you've waited and to speak to your procrastination issue, quite honestly, that's a dry form of addiction. So procrastination is the dry form. If alcohol is the wet form or food is the wet form, procrastination is the dry form. So telling myself, I don't feel like doing it right now, is telling self, I don't feel like taking care of you right now. I'm going to go with something that doesn't take care of me right now, which is to either put the exercise off or to have the drink anyway, or to whatever. And so you're constantly feeding yourself a story about how much self is not important at this moment. And something else is. Something else has dictated that importance. I mean, what's the old saying? Procrastination is the thief of time. So, you know, are we robbing ourselves of the time that we need to be, you know, fueling our lives with positive energy, whether it come from exercise or reading a book or meditating or spending time with loved ones that doesn't involve an electronic babysitter of some sort, you know? I mean, that's, you know, that's, so I'm glad you brought that up, because procrastination is a, you know, a hugely large form of addiction. People don't realize that, but it's in the thought, because all use of any addictive substance or process, which is technology in this case, you know, starts with a thought, then it moves into a feeling, then it moves into an urge, and then finally an action. So it's thought, feeling, urge, action. So first I get the thought of whatever it is that, you know, I'm feeling really sad right now, or I'm really angry at so-and-so or whatever. And, you know, that thought then feeds the feeling of whatever it is, being disappointed or isolated or whatever. Now I have a craving. The craving may be to go to the cabinet and have 6 Oreos, or it may be to, you know, go smoke a joint, or whatever the case may be. And then I've checked out, I've chosen behaviorally to check out on whatever all that is. And when you've got a mass culture of people doing that all the time, most of the time, especially with technology, you know, you got a world that is just needs some healing and needs some work. And that's where we're at. So I think Aquarius is going to bring that up for us. And I'm hoping, and I trust in the underbelly of this culture to do its work. I mean, I can only do my own work and hope that everybody else, you know, follows suit. So.
Right. So we're actually in the sign of Aries right now too.
Yes.
So what would you say, you know, is important to know about that?
Well, Aries is the beginning. Aries is the warrior. Aries is the leader. Aries is the I. So I am going to move forward with this new direction in a way that can support my life. What is it that I need to work on? What is it that I need to detox from? How can I use this meditation period for me to contribute collectively to what this global healing needs on some level? So I would say that Aries is a very energetic, it's a sign of new beginnings. It begins the zodiac. It's an initiator. It has excellent boundaries. Aries know how to take care of themselves. They're courageous. So I think this is all Aries, and Aquarius energy is really good, because you've got an air sign and a fire sign, and fire needs air. So Aquarius is air, Aries is fire, and Aquarius can give the air to the fire to make it more, you know, to make it hotter, to make it move, to make it more spontaneous and move forward. So I think we're not going to be as grounded and heavy as we've been over the last several months, you know.
So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so this question just popped into my head, and I don't know if it makes sense or not, so I'm just going to ask it. Because we were just saying, like, okay, we're in Aries right now, and I was thinking about people who are on the call and what their particular, you know, astrological sign is. Does it make sense to talk just really briefly about, like, let's say you're a Leo. How is this going to affect me as a Leo, and what should I be doing right now? Or how can I be helpful or supportive? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, each one of the signs, we could talk about each one of the signs briefly. I mean, Leo, you know, again, a fire sign, very much usually a leader, likes to take charge, the king. And very, I think one of their natural gifts that they could utilize is the gift of compromise. So the gift of giving and taking. They have a very warm heart, usually. They have a generous heart, an expansive heart. So how can they use their heart to cooperate, their individual heart to cooperate on a collective level? How can I give of myself more generously, in a way that can create compromise, whether it be within my own family, my own work, environment, that sort of thing. So I think compromise for Leo would be a huge piece of work, energetic work that they have to do. Because sometimes Leos can be very headstrong and very, I want to say egoic, not necessarily negatively, but they are the kings and queens of the zodiac, so to speak. So they would be challenged to utilize their huge hearts to compromise with themselves and others.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So if we go back, we talked about Aries. What about Taurus?
Okay. So Taurus, one of their pieces is that they are very grounded, very stable. I think probably one of their gifts could be planning, because they like to have a plan at all times. They like to see that plan implemented. It's something that they enjoy manifestation. So how can I contribute to something that's evident on this planet? So to put a plan in place for Taurus might be a really good thing. I mean, they can be stubborn like a bull. That would be the negative part of a Taurian energy. They can be resistant. And so this would not be a time clearly to focus on their resistance. If they wanted to dig their heels in, so to speak, like a bull, that could be detrimental to this process. So what we really want is a plan from them, because that's very much a gift of Taurus, is to financially possibly put a plan in place, because they are very much interested in not only money from a materialistic standpoint, but how it's going to create a survival plan for all of us. So
right,
that would be Taurus.
Okay.
So Gemini would be knowledge. I mean, Geminis know a little about a lot. Let me put it that way. I mean, they have a very wide expanse of knowledge. They're very articulate with the written word. They're very articulate with the spoken word. They have a good amount of humor and lightheartedness to them, that can cause you to feel as if you're almost dancing when you're in conversation with a Gemini, because they bring in a lot of different ideas and thoughts and options. So I would say their knowledge right now would be a huge gift
Yep.
for us.
Yep. Cool.
Cancer, I would say their gift would be acceptance. So Cancers are hard on the outside and very soft on the inside, just like the crab. They have that soft belly, so they're very sensitive people. And sometimes they're sensitive. They're afraid to show that sensitivity, possibly because of hurts in the past, or just because that's the way they protect themselves, as they would on the beach, the crab. So they go underneath the sand. And I think right now, a gift that they could bring to us would be acceptance, like a peaceful acceptance. There can be a calm about a Cancer. When I think of Cancer, I think of motherhood. I think of maternal growth. So Cancer, I mean, that's where the word cancer in its unfortunately pathological sense comes from, is the growth of, like a tumor or a cancer. But Cancer also means, in the positive way, nurturance and love and acceptance, for all people. So that would be a really wonderful thing that Cancers could bring. So we talked about Leo.
Yep.
So
Virgo.
Virgo would be commitment. Virgos are hugely effective in the service area of life. The most amount of healthcare workers actually are Virgos and Cancers. Virgo comes from the word virgin, which the white, that's where obviously healthcare workers, that's where the idea of the whiteness or the perfectionism or the purity. So Virgos are very pure in their desire to be of help and to commit whatever service they have within their toolbox of gifts to what's going on. So they could donate their commitment of service to our. And then Libra, I would say, is creativity. Librans are very they can express, they're about beauty, physical beauty, emotional beauty, the beauty of balance. So when I think about Libra, I think about the scales, and how those scales of justice, whether they be justice, so it could be a value system that they bring, but they really are about creatively bringing balance to a situation, looking at both sides. Most lawyers, most judges have Libra in their charts. So looking at both sides of a situation and creatively bringing it into balance. I mean, when we think about beauty, we think about balance. So if someone's aesthetically beautiful to look at, it means their features are balanced in a way that brings pleasure to our senses. Well, that can be applied to any system, right?
Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about that. That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. But again, you know, as human beings, we look at the surface and we think of Libra as, oh, they're either very pretty or they're, you know, interested in how something looks and appears. But it's also on a deeper level as well. How can I balance the inequity in this situation?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Scorpio. My favorite sign. Okay. So Scorpio, one of their gifts clearly is not only intensity. I mean, when I think about a Scorpio, I think about intensity. I think about purpose, dedication, and, you know, preparation. Scorpios are, like Aries, like to prepare for battle. I mean, they're good at this particular time because they are the warriors, like the Aries of the zodiac. So both Aries and Scorpio are ruled by Mars, which is that Martian male element of going to war and preparing. So how can a Scorpio offer a sense of preparation for what's to come? Because they are also a very deep sign. They can go into the depths of emotion and feeling, and what might they bring to the table in terms of helping us to prepare for this battle in some way. Sagittarius, when I think of Sagittarius, I think about optimism. I think about charisma. I think about friendship. I think that they truly know how to keep a smile on their face, regardless of what's going on, and how to help everyone see the glass as half full. You know, I see that. I have a grandson who's a Sagittarius. He was born with a permanent smile on his face. I mean, and, you know, any Sagittarius that I know are quick to smile, are quick to extend a hand, literally, figuratively. I mean, they want humanity to thrive. And so I think about charisma when I think about Sagittarius, that's what they bring to the table. They bring a charismatic energy of optimism, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Capricorn, me. I would say probably resourcefulness. There's a resilience and a resourcefulness to a Capricorn. I'm going to get through this regardless. This is a heavy time, but I've been prepared by Saturn, my ruling planet, to be prepared and to be resourceful, to go to places that I've never gone to before within myself, to figure out how I can reorg me instead of reorging an organization. How can I reorg the organization of myself?
Yep.
Aquarius, I would say presentation. So that's a gift that they can bring, is that, okay, like we said earlier, Capricorn brought the lesson, and now Aquarius is saying, okay, how are we going to present this lesson? What are we going to do with it? How is it going to show up in my life? And then how is my life then going to help create or co-create the life that I want on this planet? So presentation, like manifestation, bringing it to the table, conducting the meeting of minds, bringing the water to the group.
Well, good. I'm fulfilling that today.
You are. You totally are. You fulfill it every day, Diane. Seriously. That's what you're doing with your magazine, and that's all presentation, right? I mean,
sure.
really, there's a tangible item monthly for people to go to and say, this is holistic health at its finest. Here are all the people who are contributing to it on the planet, and I've created a magazine that is giving you a resource. You have Capricorn in your chart, so there's your resource. That's giving you a resource for going somewhere other than the proverbial box to figure out the medicine that you want for your body.
Right.
And finally, Pisces. Pisces, we are actually currently the planet Mercury, which is our communication. Everybody knows about Mercury retrograde. We're in the communication planet right now of Pisces. So Pisces is identifying Mercury right now. So Pisces is about the gift really that Pisces brings to everything is intuition. I mean, any intuitive contribution that I've had to this call or to anything that we've done on the other call or anything over the last month has come from the higher energies of Pisces, because Pisces is informing me and is helping me to download what intuition and what spirit want us to know and to work with. Pisces is hugely sensitive to the higher realms. And there is more of a sweetness and a sensitivity of communication at this particular time. So we're all very, what do I want to say, more or less agreeable. Of course, there's a lot of disagreement out there, but I think that the way we're speaking to it is more with an intuitive ear and an intuitive mind. And we're listening to the deeper meaning of all of this. And that's Pisces. We're going to move into Aries, Mercury in Aries on April 11th. And that will bring more, demand for moving forward with what we've learned through these last couple of months. Okay, now you've been talking about it. You've been theorizing about it. You've been scared about it. Now, what are you going to do about it? That's Aries, like put it on paper and let's get going, because we've got a war to wage here with ourselves and with everyone else on some level in terms of how we want to turn this all around.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. That was awesome. Yep. So we also talked about doing a free mini reading for a lucky person on the call. So what I did before we started is I just picked a random number and I'm going to count down on our call list to where I get to that number, which happens to be 8. And I'm at Karen St. Clair. So I'm going to unmute her. Karen, are you there?
I am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So are you interested and willing in having a free little mini reading based on your birthday?
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell Marianne the month and day of your birthday.
Okay, July 1st, 19, do you want the year? 1951.
Okay, July 1st, 1951. So you are the Ace of Spades and the Three of Diamonds in the Destiny card system, okay? And so the Ace of Spades is
Alert from calendar.
I'm sorry?
Nesty.clairs.
It's what? Sorry.
Somebody else is talking. Okay, the Ace
No,
of
it's my
Spades
computer.
is a very is a card of, actually it's the card that represents the Destiny card system, because it is the card of ambition and secrets. And it essentially means death of the old, beginning of the new. So it's very interesting that I picked you right now, because this is really what we're talking about, is the death of the old way of living and moving on to the new. So Ace of Spades represents the system, because the system is life, and essentially what we're all needing to learn on this planet, which your card represents, is new growth. I need to cut away the old in order to move on to something new. And perhaps that is something, I'm assuming, that you've done many times in your life. I mean, it's kind of, and your ace gives you an ability to really be able to forge forward with that. You have the courage and the determination to allow that to happen. So whether it's happened for you in terms of personal losses or job changes or whatever, it essentially is saying you're a very ambitious person, but you also have, and so ambition materially, but you also have a deep, deep, deep spiritual side to you. And you've learned how to balance perhaps both. Your second card is the Three of Diamonds, and the Three of Diamonds is a card of financial creativity, and trying to figure out at times, what do I really want? Do I want this or do I want that? What value is more important to me? It may define itself in the area of finances, but it may also define itself in other areas of life. So what values have you been faced with, value systems, whatever they may happen to be, whether it's marriage or being single, whether it's more academic education or more experiential education, like what so the three is opened. If you look at the number three, it has an open energy to it, and it wants to just experience while you're here. It wants to kind of try this out and try that out. Oh, maybe this investment. Oh, maybe this school. Oh, maybe this relationship, and not necessarily decide or box yourself into anyone in particular. So that's on some level what those two cards speak to. Let me see, what else do I want to say? The spade obviously is the old person of the deck. So there is a wisdom to your nature, a very, very deep wisdom, which represents, again, this system, and going deep, transformation. So how do I want to transform myself? And those cards may be very helpful to you at a time like this. You're a Cancer. And so, they're speaking to that whole depth of sensitivity that may be under you, that you may need to kind of, at this particular time, I don't know what you've been doing up until this time in your life, but this may be a time when all of that sensitivity that you've been holding on to or containing may need to kind of come more to the surface and express itself creatively in some way. So I guess one of the questions that Diane and I had talked about was, for the person who was selected, to have them determine what was it or what is it that you feel you may need to, I don't know if detox is the right word, but what work do you feel you need to do yourself to contribute to the healing on this planet? And then I would tell you how the Ace of Spades or the Three of Diamonds might either contribute or help you kind of, I don't know, interfere with that in some way. So, because we all have ways that, we can be held up in terms of goals that we have. So is there anything in particular that you have decided that you may want to work on now that you're in this quarantine, so to speak?
Well, first of all, last week, at the beginning of last week, I just felt this urge to go within, and I did a lot of deep work and realized that I've been in an orchestra and have what they call a linchpin position in this orchestra. Not musically, but I've taken over the promotion of it. I have an ad agency, and so I do all the things for them. I decided that I had to step back from that and say, no more. I don't have the time to dedicate to you. I need to dedicate it to myself. I have, besides my ad agency, I have an energy psychology business, a practice, an EFT tapping and Psych K and all of that. And so I want to bring that, of course, right now, the world needs all of that.
Absolutely.
So I took my practice online this week, and everyone's coming to me via Zoom and FaceTime, and it's been great. But I want to really put my services out there right now because they're so needed.
So needed. Oh my God. So that's a beautiful illustration of what we're talking about here. And I mean, the Ace, Ace is one in the system. So Ace has a lot of leadership ability, which you've just described, and a lot of individuation in terms of how do I want to stop all of this, energy that's leaving my center and going out in maybe a direction that I'm now choosing to transform. I want to so there's the transformation of the Ace of Spades. I want to this is a death of the old. So I'm not going to do the orchestra work, but I'm going to do another kind of orchestration. I'm going to obviously contribute to helping people's anxiety levels with this technique that I've learned. I mean, so that's a beautiful thing, because that's exactly what we're talking about with Aquarius energy, where you've now, instead of feeding, just yourself, not that you were doing only that before, but now you really want to pull that in and help to feed the group culture, which is beautiful. Well, wow.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I see the harp in the background. Is that your instrument?
No, I play the fiddle. I play the harp, not well, but I play the fiddle.
Oh, cool. Wow. That's wonderful. So music, the only reason music was ever invented was to nurture the soul, which I'm sure you know. And so there you are, doing all of that. So that's wonderful. Ace of Spades, Three of Diamonds, very powerful day. And you're born on the 1st. Right. So the 1 and the 1 of the Ace. So you have a lot of initiating energy, a lot of energy to move forward with who you are and what you've learned and how you've, how you've accumulated all these gifts over your lifetime, and now how you want to give them back, right. Which is also spade energy, because the elder, even though we've been spades since we've been babies, we've always been old on some level. And so that old energy is looking back in the rearview mirror and saying, how do I want to contribute to the legacy of this planet? What do I want to give this planet before I leave? And, and also existentially asking yourself, what is this all about? And what has my life been all about? And now, the fact that you're taking all of this music, so to speak, in your life and putting it into a tapping, which is another form of music or rhythm, and giving it back in a way to help people heal I mean, is you coming full circle, quite
Yes.
honestly. I think it's beautiful.
Thank
Really,
you.
really beautiful.
It feels so right.
Huh?
Really feels right.
So that's not you speaking, that's your soul speaking. I mean, that's your soul informing you that you are, you know, I mentioned this in an article I wrote online about David Brooks, who's the author of the book, The Road to Character. And he talked about the difference between the resume profile and the eulogy profile. And how really, you know, most of us contribute to the resume profile for the majority of our lives. But then at the end of life, what the most important piece of our existence has been is really how that eulogy profile is going to be written up. So, you know, when you say, I feel this is right, I hear the eulogy profile. And in no way, shape, or form am I prophesizing anything other than the fact that I think we all need to be working on that eulogy profile, no matter how old we are, you know, because that's really, yeah. I mean, how well did we love? How well did we love self? And how well did we love others? And so now the universe is giving us an opportunity to give back to the world. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So you really, wow, that was, I think that's just, I don't know, it's very synchronistic that Dee picked you, you know, and your birthday. But
there are no coincidences.
Oh, there are none. No.
None.
Thank you.
Coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. So.
Right, exactly. So we're at 1 o'clock. So Marianne, just tell people how they can get a hold of you, whether you want them to email you or.
Okay, so yes, my website is MaryAnnCosterella.com. And Costerella is spelled just like Cinderella, Costerella. My email is malc7119@aol.com.
And
go ahead.
Nope,
no,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say my cell phone number is 860-918-3949.
Perfect, cool. And of course, anyone can email me too if you didn't catch that, and I will pass it on to Marianne as well. Thank you, Marianne, for another awesome call, wealth of knowledge. I love that we went through all the zodiac signs. That was not even my plan, but the question came to me, so I'm like, hey, let's run with this. But that's cool because we recorded this, and I'm going to send it out to people, and so even people who weren't on the call can, you know, at least get some information about their individual sign and how it applies to them and what they need to know. And like I said in the beginning, we're going to be doing these calls, at least for now, Thursdays at noon. So same Zoom link and everything. I mean, I'll be sending them out, info out weekly, but you can always just hang on to the last email and just use the same Zoom meeting number. It never changes for me. And we will see, hopefully, everyone next week at 12. Everybody have a good rest of your week.
You too, Di. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.